just as gray as when it started, and some things never change. But I'm not so broken-hearted I can't rearrange these deck chairs one more time.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, first of all, thank you so much for that. Technical glitches.
Yeah.
I had to change computer. My previous one, the camera was decided to not work. So I had to do an audible. A little embarrassing. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. So, I wanted to just take some of your time, talk to you about your new album that's coming out Friday, Mixtape. Really exciting stuff. But before that, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing? How's your family doing? You're in Italy. How is that going? How's everything for you?
Everything is honestly pretty fine. I mean, so all my family and friends are okay. I don't have any, luckily so far I haven't known anybody that's gotten sick. We are in Italy. We've been on like a nationwide lockdown since March 10th. Sure. So I think today is day 43. I had stopped counting and then I started counting again yesterday. So, which is, it's getting a little bit old, but it's fine at the same time. I mean, we have everything we need. We haven't had any food shortages or medicine shortages or any problems. It's just sort of, like everybody says, it's sort of just the boringness of day to day and kind of wanting to get back to regular life. But honestly, we don't have any complaints. Like we're very lucky. So
it really is like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. We're making that same joke everybody says about like, what day is it? And the answer is just day. Like day. It doesn't really matter what day it is. Monday, Tuesday, it's day.
Definitely. So, and okay, so you're from Dallas. You're from Dallas, Texas.
I am.
How long have you been in Italy for?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I've been coming here on and off for 20 years. I have I have a band here and I tour here a lot. So this particular trip, we came at the end of January for some touring that we were supposed to do in early March.
Sure.
We were going to do some work with our band in February and then do our tour in March. And our tour was slotted for northern Italy, specifically for Lombardia, where the big hotspots were. So when the tour got canceled, we had to decide whether we wanted to fly back to the States or stay here. And since we had a safe place to be here, and we knew that no matter where we were going to go, we were going to be locked down, because even though Italy was ahead of the curve, we were fairly certain, anybody that was following the news could tell that it was going to be global. Yeah. The problem was going to go to America as well. So there was really no reason to rush back to America, because all of our tours had been canceled. And we figured it would just be going from the frying pan into the fire, like we figured it was safer just to stay put where we were and shelter in place here instead of going back to Dallas. The town that we're in here in Italy is small and we can reach all the grocery stores on foot and stuff. So we just thought, it'll be an easier place to ride out of quarantine than being in a big city. So
definitely. Wow, that's interesting. And you mentioned you've been on the road for 2 decades plus in all over Europe, and you've been building your career, thousands of shows. When did you decide that you wanted to be an artist? Obviously, you have a very laser focus. It reminds me of when I read of like Steven Spielberg, that when he was 5, he locked himself in Universal Studios or whatever. When did you get this focus from? How old were you? How did it happen?
Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but I wasn't laser focused on it when I was 5 for sure. Although I did love to do talent shows in the living room and that kind of stuff. But I actually thought I was probably going to be a writer. I went to university to study literature, and that's kind of what I planned to do. And I guess I did, because now I write music. I write short stories, very, very short stories, and that last 3 to 4 minutes long. But I didn't actually start pursuing music until after college. I decided I would give it a try. I was planning to go back to grad school, but I thought maybe I would take a few years off and try to do music first and see what happened. And I ended up, I've been doing it now since I guess about 2003. So it's been a while. Still trying to see what'll happen. But
yeah, definitely. What are some fun memories of those early days, after college, when you were first starting out?
The early days, I guess my fond memories, I won't say that they were few and far between, but I was so nervous all the time because I had such bad stage fright that like I kind of feel like I blocked out a lot of those early concerts because they were so terrifying to me. I guess in a way, a fond memory is nearly every time I could get up there and do it and then get down without dying felt like felt like a major victory, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I definitely remember a lot of small coffee shop gigs where it was just mostly friends and the people that worked there that were at the coffee shop, and I was still so nervous I thought I was just going to puke, you know.
Yeah.
So it's funny to look back on that and see, you know, see how far I've come. It's a nice feeling.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, on a side note with that, I recently heard a podcast, and Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam, he says he still gets as nervous as the first time. And then the interviewer asked him, like, why is that? Like, you should, you know, you go all over the world for such a long career. He says that, you know, you have to be in tune with the audience and with the moments that could happen. And the only way to do it is to be nervous. Do you relate to that?
Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. I still get nervous before every show. I just don't get as nervous as I used to, you know. It used to be a sort of a crippling thing where it was like hard to remember the lyrics to my songs and that kind of stuff. Now it's just sort of like a general not even anxiety. It's just sort of like a general jumpiness that you want to get out there and you want to connect, and he's right. It's like you really don't know until they open the curtain or until you step out on the stage. You don't know what kind of audience you're going to have that night. So sometimes it's very hard to plan, you know, hard to plan your set list, hard to plan what kind of evening you want to have, because maybe the audience is not at all what you were expecting to interact with, and you kind of have to adjust on the fly so that you stay in sync with them, you know?
Sure. All right, Vanessa, I have to ask you about your songwriting. You mentioned it. You know, I've been listening to your discography the past 24 hours or so. It seems to be very poignant for this moment in history. I've realized it's almost like you were like a futuristic, like some of these themes that you touched about, you know, like, I mean, everything from like get started when you tell people to, you know, or when you say, listen, live in the moment, like massive action, do things now, or, you know, or even before it falls apart, you know, it seems like this is like a worldwide, like forced upon before it falls apart on all of us. So you have all these themes and they were like way ahead of the curve. How does that feel? Like, how do you feel about that?
It's weird. I'll tell you the songs that I finished writing them like mostly in October of this past year. We were supposed to start recording them in March of this year. They're even more like weirdly prophetic. I actually released a couple of them as demos on YouTube recently, just because I was like, wow, I have to share these songs because even I wrote them last October, but they feel like they could have been written about right now, you know? So, I mean, I don't suppose that's that strange. I just think that like, if you're a student of the world around you, then everything that's happening now has been going on for a long time. I think it's just been thrown into sharp relief by the fact that we're all trapped at home and we're all sort of studying all of these things around us that maybe we would have tried not to see, or maybe we didn't even see because we were too busy. And now that we've all been forced to slow down, I think that like it's, you can't cover your eyes anymore, you know?
Yeah, you really can't.
Aware of it.
Definitely. And I want to get to Mixtape in a second, but I wanted to ask you about your TED Talk. Just lastly, you have a great TED Talk that you did in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. If you want to search for it on YouTube, it's really fascinating, really great subject. Well, you know, that was, I think, 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I wanted to ask you if there was like a little update, a little amendment since then from your TED Talk.
I'm like the purveyor of doom and gloom. I think the update is everything I said back then was true, and it's even more true now. The TED Talk was on the difficulty of making a living in the digital age, where a whole generation or more of people have now grown up with having music be something that's free, something that they just expect to be able to have at their fingertips instantly, you know, without really realizing all the links that go along with making such a thing like that possible. And I think, I do think maybe there's been some awareness that has increased in the last couple of years about artists being fairly compensated, but I don't know that we have figured out a solution for it yet. I mean, I know that my own like streaming checks and stuff that I get in the mail are truly funny. Like, you know, when when you get a check in the mail for $3 or whatever, it makes you laugh because you're like, what's the point? Obviously, I don't make my money from streaming. Like I tour a lot, and I for the most part own my own records, so I'm lucky in that regard because I sell my CDs and stuff direct to fans, but obviously the number of people that buy CDs or buy vinyl, I don't care what the statistics say in like Billboard.com's yearly recap of vinyl sales. They increase, but they also increase relative to how well known you are to begin with. Like, yeah. I'm sure I can see your U2 posters behind you. I'm sure U2 is having a resurgence of their vinyl because the same people that were the super fans that bought like all their albums on CD in the 80s and 90s then came along and now they have a vinyl collection. Well, guess what? They're the super fans, so they went and they bought all the U2 records on vinyl as well. And that's great for you too, but that doesn't help anybody that's on the smaller level, trying to become a name that people recognize. So, and I think of the problem with a lot of the streaming platforms is that the algorithms that they use to try to help people, quote unquote, discover new music are I don't want to say that they're fake, but they are tailored to record labels.
I was 15, had the shape of a capital L. I still read books about ponies. This girl I got to know said she was throwing a party where boys would occur. Something this cool wasn't heard of in my life this far.
Good, I guess, regardless, which is kind of where we're at. We do it at this point in our lives for passion, not for the hope that tomorrow I'm going to be signed or,
Yeah, absolutely. No, but your music's absolutely fantastic. It's a treat. It really challenges the listener. And that's, right now we have the time, we have the focus, and it's like, it pays off. Yeah. It pays off, definitely. So with that, let's talk about your new record coming Friday, Mixtape.
Yeah,
it's something different. It's something different. It's a collection of cover songs, and a very good collection of cover songs, if I may say so. Can you tell us a little bit about where the idea came from, why the change, why this great artist, if I may say so? Mm-hmm.
Well, so we have been saying for years and years that we wanted to make a covers record. Because I do my own songwriting. Whenever I play a show live, I always throw a couple of covers onto the set list because oftentimes there's people in the audience that don't know who I am. And it's hard to listen to, an unknown artist's original music for 75 minutes straight, So like you always throw in a couple of covers because it helps you connect with the audience. They go, oh, I know this song, and they get to be part of it, instead of kind of being on the outside. So obviously over 20 years, I've amassed a fairly large collection of covers that I like to play at shows, and that some of them are songs that people have even come to recognize, like to associate me with, like songs I've played at shows long enough that fans recognize them, go, oh, I love that one. So it's been years and years that we've been saying, oh, it would be really fun to make a covers record. And, but it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, you never really find the time to do it because you're writing your own songs and you want to get those recorded, and then you've got a tour happening. And so a couple of years, I guess it was about 3 years ago, my husband and I, he's in my band, and he also does most of the recording and producing of our records. We just decided it was winter and it was cold and icy outside, and we were kind of trapped at home. We thought, oh, let's just try to, just for fun, do some home recordings and see what comes out of it. And we recorded 3 of these songs actually, just in our like very crappy home studio here in Lucca in Italy. But we liked them, and we put them on our Bandcamp page for our subscribers. We have like a little fan club on Bandcamp where people can get access to the unreleased songs and the demos and that kind of stuff. So we shared these 3 songs, and people really liked them. We thought, okay, great, we're off to a good start. And then we totally just stopped. We didn't work on it for probably a year, because then we went into the studio to go work on Foxhole Prayers, and then we were on tour. And it just, next thing we knew, one day we looked at the calendar and we were like, man, it's been like 18 months since we even touched those cover songs. Like, we got to get back to that. And so we picked it up again, kind of with like renewed energy, and we were able to knock out the second half of it really quickly. We just sort of tackled it mostly last summer. And yeah, it's a really interesting collection because it's all sorts of bands that don't have anything to do with one another. there's no theme to it. Like a lot of the albums that I've written in the past, I've tried to have a theme to the songs. Not this one. I was just like, I picked 10 songs that I loved singing, that maybe had like, maybe have personal meaning, or maybe they just had one or two lyrics that I thought, this is a fantastic lyric, and I just want to share this song with other people, you know? So I tried not to overthink it, and tried not to like make it too difficult. I just thought it would be fun just to make a record, which is why we did like I actually have a copy of it right here. But like the artwork is kind of fun and bright and colorful, and like if you look at Foxhole Prayers, my previous record, which is full of songs, like you said, that are kind of challenging and kind of heavy, and the artwork reflects that. It's like, you know, it's intense. And this one we were like, you know what, let's just make something fun. Let's make something that people can listen to and enjoy, and not have to like, you know, just obsess over. So hopefully we did it.
Well, very exciting. We're very excited to hear it, Vanessa.
Me too.
Awesome.
Excited to get it done.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, and you had a tour now that I think got, you know, like everything postponed or scrapped, and everyone's kind of figuring out what to do. But are you thinking of rescheduling maybe in the fall? Maybe doing a North American little leg or something?
Yes, I don't know when yet. We're still kind of just like waiting to, like everybody, to kind of see how things shake out. We do have some shows that are scheduled for October in Europe that were scheduled before all this happened. So those are still on the books. And we did a Kickstarter to fund the new album of originals, and we were supposed to record that in March in Austin. So probably any American touring will be around that. Like whenever we figure out the recording schedule to go to the studio, then hopefully we can tack on some touring to that same block of time. But I don't know. Right now it's one giant question mark. You know.
I mean, last Friday I talked to Jake Berry. He produces the Madonna, Beyonce, and U2 tours, and it scared me to talk to him because he's nervous. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, if Jake Berry is nervous and he doesn't know what's going on, then no one knows what's going on.
Yeah. I think, you know, this whole, I think the lesson behind this entire time is really, truly that like we always used to tell ourselves that we were in control, that we made our own decisions, that we planned our lives, you know, and I think this increasingly sort of reminds us that so much of it is out of our control, and at the end of the day, all you really can do is the next right thing. Like it's silly to even try to plan what's going to happen towards the end of May, because we just don't know. So right now, like, focus on what you can do for yourself today, what you can do for yourself tomorrow. If you have to, like, focus on Friday, but maybe just don't go past that right now, because there's just, you know, it's too stressful to realize how much is out of your control. So it's better just to focus on the small things that are within your sphere of influence, you know, and just tackle those things. At least that's how it's been for me. That's how I've been getting through this without going crazy. Because
very, very well said. Very well said. And I think that's a perfect place to leave it here. That's a beautiful line. And well, Vanessa, I just wish you all the best with the record. I wish you all the best with your family in Italy. I thank you for your time again. Sorry again for the PC glitches at the beginning, but I really appreciate all of your time. And, you know, I hope I get to see you perform live soon.
It would be great. I would.
All right.
Please say hi if you do.
Come on, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.